Outer Orange.
Welcome everyone. Today we are going to be discussing Zorga. It has been about 5 sets now, going into set 6 soon. There's a hype train happening. Hello? But yeah, don't forget to Zorga over the like button. And by the way, guys, since set 6 is dropping soon, along with set 7, along with some amazing good orders for Zorga as well. Don't forget to use 50 cards and get your cards. Use my code OUterOrange and all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah, you guys are talking to future selves too as well, because it's always fun that way. Anyway, so we got 2 Zorgas. We got 2 Zorgas to discuss today. We got Zorga A, so that's blue Zorga. See, that's blue Zorga, and then we got Zorga B to talk about. Red Zorga. We got the double Zorga on one screen, and we got the Zorga in the middle too. So look at that. We got Double to discuss. So today I want to discuss with you guys the concept of Zorga. 5 whole sets that we have had Zorga support, Zorga coming out, Zorga existing, just Zorga, you know what I mean? So it's Zorga's Stoicheia card. You're using Stoicheia, it's like the aspect of Green Blue pretty much. You can revive stuff, you can use orders, you recall stuff back out, you kind of big brain some of your plays because it does require a little bit of brain usage here and there. And something that people don't know is which one to pick. Which Zorga to play and why to pick either one. I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Franz actually. During Chicago, we had a big discussion about Zorga and kind of what the differences are between the two and why would you want to pick like one Zorga over the other Zorga and sort of what the meta calls are. And I realized that I don't think anyone has really spent the time to talk about the difference between the two and why would you pick one over the other and why there isn't a grade 4 Zorga to begin with. Like why there's specifically 2 different grade 3 ones. And I'm here to explain that today. I think I briefly talked about this in one of my videos in the past when Red Zorga first dropped, but I feel now is a great time to kind of discuss, again, bring the subject back of the concept of making a meta call and a deck building call between both of these bad boys right here. So that's what we'll be doing today. So we have the blue Zorga over here, which is the Mysterious Rain Spiritualist Zorga, and then we have red Zorga over here, which is Dead Sea Spiritualist Grave equals Zorga. And if you're a new builder to Zorga, you might be asking yourself, well, which one's better? Because that is like kind of, ever since red Zorga's been released, people have been debating this for literally months, probably. To this day, this is still a topic that people talk about. Why pick one over the other, why red is better, why blue is better, all this kind of stuff. And I will give you kind of my insight on this now, and this is kind of how I felt ever since red Zorga has been revealed. And I think it's not really so much of which one is better, but I think it's more of which one fits the meta better. And I felt this way for a while, so let me just explain to you. So what the concept of blue Zorga is, in my opinion, a control concept, and the concept of red Zorga is the concept of aggro, and you can even tell based off their colors and stuff like that. So think of it this way. So blue Zorga can revive, play more defensively, meanwhile red Zorga is kind of just more like how do I explain it, like Unga Bunga, you know what I mean? And even though technically red Zorga is a little bit more consistent, I would say blue Zorga is the best option for control / specific like metas where you need to live longer, whereas red Zorga can just beat down more aggressively and just kind of finish games faster. So sometimes it's actually smart to pick one or the other. Both Zorgas, honestly, they only really lose to themselves. By that I mean like the deck loses to not finding its own stuff over whatever the opponent's doing. Like whatever the opponent does just doesn't really matter. Red Zorga is a little bit more fragile in my opinion, and because of that I think blue Zorga, it was just the better option when it comes to just control aspects. So let's talk about blue Zorga first. Let's talk about the concept of blue Zorga and kind of go down the line. So we talk about control with Zorga. What makes it control-esque, right? So its first skill pretty much says that when you would play an order, you can actually buy another order and perform alchemy magic, which means you can play 2 orders in 1 turn. So and then it has a second skill, which is just counterblast, and you choose a card from your drop zone, you can call it to Rearguard Circle, which sounds like a very basic skill, but it's actually very important. There's a lot of aspects in Zorga and in general in Stoicheia of bouncing cards to hand, board replenishments, all this kind of stuff. And part of that is actually using this skill right here to bounce like PGs to hand, OT to hand, triggers to hand, useful cards to hand, whatever you want to do. You have the control to do kind of whatever you want. And it's a counterblast, but honestly, you can play countercharging cards, and then there's future cards that are coming and orders that are coming that are kind of helping with all that kind of stuff. And then we also have GDR, the Grief, Despair, Rejection card, which can only be played in blue Zorga. So if you need that extra power buff and all that kind of stuff, you could play it in blue. You cannot play it in red, but red has its own buff, so it doesn't really matter. So you kind of have an option with blue of if you want to just go for the approach of just having a control build. So in case the meta calls for it, I would highly recommend going to blue. Blue Zorga does brick a little bit more in terms of like having the concept of constantly getting your orders back to hand. However, Blue Zorga is definitely a better defense option. Once it starts going, it just doesn't really stop, and the only thing that kind of stops is like resource management. But as you know, as more orders come out, I think resources become less and less of an issue. So that's kind of how Blue Zorga like works, right? So let's go on over to the Red Zorga. Why is Red Zorga more aggressive? Well, Red Zorga has a literal alchemy magic that says your front row gets 10k. I mean, sorry, 5k, and then you actually have a new order that even stacks on top of that, so you have a 10k buff on top of that. But then the second part of the skill, it says that when you soul blast and discard a card, you can choose a normal unit from your drop. I'm sorry, a normal order from your drop, put it to hand, and then to end the turn, you can alchemy magic. And when you play another order, you can play another one from bind, essentially, and perform alchemy magic. So why is this one more aggressive? Well, first of all, you go through your hand a little bit more. Even though you're technically regenerating your hand back, you're essentially using your hand more because you're constantly discarding, you're also soul blasting, you're doing all this kind of setup and all this stuff. So technically this one is more aggro, and also the 5k instantly starts. You know, you don't need persona, you don't need specific orders, you kind of just get this like generic like 10k front row pretty quickly and all this kind of stuff. But because of that, this card is way less defensive. You have to revive through certain conditions, you can't bounce stuff back to hand as quickly. You can choose to kind of go that route, but it's kind of a little bit harder. So you're kind of going for a more finisher type approach, a faster deck, I would call it. Like this deck it should be faster in terms of how it's set up, right? So this deck, you kind of want to go for a more finishing game plan. You want to kind of end game faster. Maybe in the future we'll get more kind of win con type cards that isn't just, you know, shark and dragon. So over time we might just get better approaches. With Persona, it's just 15k front now easily, but his defenses are paper thin because you cannot really abuse Shadow Cloak skill without building very specifically for it. Exactly. So this card in general is just more aggressive and way less defensive. So during metas where you don't really care what's in your hand as much, you can go into this guy just a lot easier and just kind of do whatever you want to do, right? You're just gonna beat face and beat face and beat face, right? Whereas this guy is kind of like you can survive so long with Blue Zorga. Blue Zorga just doesn't die. It decks out before it dies. Like it's just insane. Whereas this guy, but this guy has more aggression to it, and a little bit more consistency sometimes, just because of the fact that you don't have to rely on constantly having an order in hand. So you can just, you know, get someone drop and then have one. I think you discard. Yeah, you pretty much, as long as you have 2 in drop, you will have alchemy magic essentially, because you can discard something else and grab an order, and then you can perform alchemy magic essentially. So with that being said, this card should be more consistent. Something I talked about, me and Franz were kind of like theory crafting Zorga, and something we brought up is the fact that we are in a very heavy Gravidia meta right now, and Gravidia is very aggressive with its, you know, its constant OT pressure, a constant double triggering pressure, all this kind of stuff. So we were discussing how playing Blue Zorga actually is a bad call in this meta that we are in right this very second. Not like overall, but like right now, what's happening before set 6 drops, we were talking about them. The reason why is because against Gravidia, you can constantly keep recycling OT, you can constantly keep recycling perfect guards. Like you don't really have a fear. If you don't have a fear of going into Blue Zorga, where if you play Red Zorga, you can get destroyed really quickly. So this is just one of the few times of many more to come in the future of what decision to make. And I think the right Zorga player will know which one to pick. So as people that are kind of learning this deck or trying to figure this deck out, then just wanted to kind of show you guys kind of like why, like there's so much argument all the time about like which one's better, but it's more of like what meta belongs for which one, right? So like personal opinion, I think both of them are good in their own ways, and I think both of them are restricted in their own ways too. So you kind of need to realize where the weaknesses and the strengths are of each one and then go from there. So one thing I'll bring up, Red Zorga is very, like some will say no, but Red Zorga is still at the end of the day does not like to see prison matchups. So if prison is very heavy in meta, like very heavy meta where everyone's playing it, it may not be a good idea to go into Red Zorga. Like yes, you can recursion crits and do all this stuff, but it's still really hard sometimes to go around prison because you have to constantly soul blast. Otherwise you literally can't alchemy magic. If you happen to not have the right cards, or you don't have the right things to soul charge with, you don't have malice, you're missing some kind of piece, you are stuck. Whereas with Blue Zorga, you don't have that problem as much because you don't have to rely on soul blast at all to keep alchemy magicking. It's literally part of his card, it's part of his skill, it's what he started with, so you don't have to worry about that. You just do your thing and you just keep going. So if prison's very heavy in meta and prison's constantly binding your soul and putting in the prison, then maybe this isn't the best option for you, you know? And like making these kind of calls and these kind of decisions is very important. Say the meta is a little bit longer, but you want to kill faster, then you do want to go into Red Zorga because Red Zorga is faster. So if people are trying to grind out games, trying to grind out to a win con, grade 4 meta is a good example. If people are trying to grind for grade 4 meta and you want to kill them before they get to grade 4 meta, like you don't want to see that, you want them to see grade 4, this is also a good option to go going to kill them before it matters. Whereas with the blue meta, you have to accept the fact that you'll be facing pretty much everything because you'll be down to like 3 cards in deck like Yin, which is also pretty scary sometimes. But yeah, I think that's the coolest part about Zorga and Zorga building overall. And I think it's something that I feel like not enough people talk about, but I feel like Zorga is like literally the control deck of overdress right now, because I think people forget kind of what control is. What am I doing putting y'all it's kind of a little too late for that now, but I'll put y'all in the middle. Y'all can stay right here. Boom, bam. There, now everyone can see your opinions in the spotlight, at least for the second half of the video, however long this video is actually going to end up being. Zorga's the most versatile deck in general. There's no specific wrong way to build it, which is more than half of the magic. I agree. I'm still waiting for the 4th attack. I'm not gonna lie, I am a little mad that we don't have a 4th attack. And yeah, like I just want a 4th attack. I don't even care how bad it is, but I think Zorga deserves the 4th attack. Like almost every deck has one now. Okay, so if we don't get a 3rd attack, we need people are gonna listen to this, they're gonna hate me. We need a double door. You know, just a battle door, just every attack you have to guard with 2 cards, and that'll get around the 4th attack, right? Like, we'll just get a battle door instead. We'll just piss off the entire community. We'll get our first battle door for the whole turn. For the whole turn. The minute you ride Zorga, you just get battle door effect. You just get it. Imagine battle door with the triple drive. Oh my gosh, that'd be so boosted. Grade 1 booster with double door. It'd have to be like a hard once per turn. Like when it specifically boosts Vanguard, give double door Van Mellow and V just to put in standard. Exactly, Michael. Exactly. Easy. It's problem solved. Problem solved. But yeah, just keep in mind, I would constantly keep it. So if you're a Zorga player, or if you're getting into Zorga, or if you're trying Zorga, keep in mind of both options. Both of them. Don't forget about either one. Like I said, make sure you test. Orange Zorga would be fire. Dude, Orange Zorga would be so flamboyantly hot. Like, I don't even know how to control. Think about it. Like, think about, like, just think about it. Like, take a Dark Irregulars unit. Just any Dark Irregulars unit, because they all look flaming cool, right? Add that Zorga archetype behind it with the orange flaming hair. I'm telling you, it's gonna look amazing. It's gonna look beautiful. It's gonna be a beautiful man. Beautiful man. You can't make Zorga look ugly. He just doesn't look ugly. He is just constant 100% perfection. Want to share that with you guys. YouTube, if you're building Zorga, you're already good with the sauce. Just don't abandon the good captain. True, just don't abandon the captain. We're kind of in this weird spot right now, I'm not gonna lie. Now where I don't even know where Zorga belongs, like what tier Zorga is on. Build Zorga YouTube is based. the Twitch chat is telling y'all to build Zorga. You heard it here today. Build Zorga. Time Leap with Zorga. Just to have fun with Zorga. You know, marry Red Zorga. And then, you know, tell your husband that you decided to sleep with Blue Zorga. Hello, welcome in. You know, do whatever you gotta do to make yourself happy. Have a Zorga fiesta. Zorga party. If you tell your husband that you're sleeping with Zorga and he doesn't join, leave him. Damn. Damn. Sleep be hitting it with the real goods. But that's Zorga. Go play it. Go have fun. Build your decks. All that great stuff. Have a good party. You know, I don't know what set 6 and set 7 Zorga is gonna be like, but I'm sure it's gonna be great. So yeah, do that. Do that. To say goodbye. Drink water. Play Zorga. Have a great time. Bye YouTube. Bye YouTube. Until next time, YouTube. Until next time. We're done with YouTube. Hasta la vista. Bye. Bye, YouTube. I'm disappointed in you, Eric. This is not how you spell orange.